Hello everybody, this is Tyler here once again from the Character Workshop, getting into the Christmas spirit. Or into the Thanksgiving spirit. Then again, Thanksgiving was a month ago anyways. So yes, I was originally going to upload this episode of It Came From England the Saturday after Thanksgiving, because the topic of this episode would have made a lot more sense to do it back then. But because of the whole YouTube COPA thing going on, I had to postpone it for a while, so I apologize for the delay, but I still got it in time for you guys for Christmas, so there we go. And of course, I've did like 7 videos already talking about COPA, so I'm not going to go into any further detail about that. Go watch those videos if you don't know what's been going on with YouTube recently. But anyways, let's get on to what I'm going to be talking about today, which is what me and a lot of fans would consider the worst American dubbed episode of Thomas and Friends. So as you guys all know, Thomas and Friends was the very first thing that I covered on It Came From England, as the show had a very special place in my childhood, and I felt like talking about it for the very first episode would make a whole lot of sense. And speaking of things that make a whole lot of sense, seeing that the premiere of the first season covered Thomas and Friends, I feel like it would be perfect for season 2 to also cover Thomas and Friends. But of course, I am not going to be talking about Thomas and Friends once again, like I did in the last episode that I talked about Thomas. Since I already talked about the main stuff relating to the show, and seeing that it's the Christmas season, I decided to cover one of these show's Christmas episodes. But what episode am I going to be covering, you ask? Am I going to be covering Thomas's Christmas Party? Thomas's Missing Christmas Tree? Nope. I'm going to cover the one that came after those two. And I already mentioned why I'm going to be talking about this episode, but yes, the episode I'm talking about in question is Thomas and Percy's Christmas Adventure. So the episode premise is as follows. Thomas and Percy are delivering mail to a small town by the name of Ulfstead, but then a huge snowstorm hits, so Thomas was given some extra mail to deliver. Percy was upset by this, but then eventually his spirits went up when Thomas was forced to give his mail to Percy instead. Thomas, of course, was upset by this, but Percy then soon sets off. So as Percy makes his way to Ulfstead, a man flags him down because the town got snowed in. So Thomas and Percy works together to save the villagers alongside Harold the helicopter and Terrence the tractor. The villagers said that they were the best Santa Claus that they've ever had, which Percy then doesn't know who Santa Claus was, and then Thomas explains who he is to Percy, and then Thomas suddenly realizes that he accidentally left some parcels in a siding. Later on that night, Henrietta, who is Toby's coach on the show, is loaded up with paint pots and parcels, and they sneak along into the yard to decorate the engine's shed with Christmas decorations. And as soon as the engines all see it, they are delighted and they say it's the best Christmas they've ever had. Now, some of you are probably all thinking, it's just a simple, Christmas rescue story, right? No harm in it. Exactly, there is no harm in it. But I'll tell you just one little thing that was wrong. How the story was treated in the American dub. So as I briefly mentioned in the first episode of It Came From England, Shining Time Station was a show in America that was responsible for introducing Thomas and Friends to American audiences. Well, apparently, Shining Time Station had a Thanksgiving episode under the name Billy's Party. Now, the problem with that is, Thomas and Friends was a British show, and in the UK, they don't celebrate Thanksgiving. Now, this next part is mostly just my assumptions, so don't take everything I said as fact. So I'm assuming the production crew was like, oh shoot, we're doing a Thanksgiving episode of Shining Time Station, but there hasn't been any Thanksgiving episodes of Thomas because it's not an American show. What do we do? So then, the producers realized the season 3 finale, which was a Christmas episode, has not been shown yet on Shining Time Station, and they were like, you know what? Screw it. Let's put this into the episode. So, seeing that the Shining Time Station episode that Thomas and Percy's Christmas Adventure was featured in was Thanksgiving themed, the whole entire episode was rewritten to incorporate the theme of Thanksgiving. And how did it turn out? Weird and confusing. So let me address the biggest change they did between the UK version and the American version. Now, as I already mentioned with the UK version, there was a scene where Percy asked Thomas who Santa Claus was. Thomas explains to Percy that Santa Claus is a man who brings gifts to people through chimneys. Percy then looks up at his funnel, and Thomas corrected him saying, "No, silly, chimneys, not funnels." But because the American dub incorporated Thanksgiving, that entire scene was removed and was omitted in the American dub. So because of the fact that they got rid of that scene from the episode, for whatever reason, the people who edited the Thomas footage for Shining Time Station didn't bother removing the footage that they were using when Thomas and Percy were talking to each other about Santa Claus. They kept the footage in there, but since the narration didn't have the whole "what's a Santa Claus" scene in there, it left the rest of the narration of the episode out of sync. And if you guys were to watch the American dub of that episode, you guys will see what I'm talking about. It's really weird. And what's even weirder than that is after this version of the episode was broadcasted onto Shining Time Station, they never bothered fixing it in any later releases. Any VHSs or DVDs that this episode was featured in, they didn't fix this. Even when Amazon, all the classic series episodes were made available to watch on Amazon Prime, even they didn't fix that. So honestly, it was really weird. They should have just edited that portion out of the episode. I mean, yeah, it would have made the episode like a couple seconds shorter than the British dub, but like, at least it would have made the episode look slightly more polished despite the whole change between Christmas to Thanksgiving. But my gosh, what the heck? So as you guys couldn't tell already, I'm not very satisfied with the American dub of Thomas and Percy's Christmas Adventure. Oh wait, I'm sorry. That's another thing. They changed the title too to Thomas and Percy's Mountain Adventure. Yeah, as I've already mentioned, I'm not satisfied with this episode. And especially near the very end of the episode where you see, the engines, admiring the Christmas decorations inside the sheds. But then in the American dub, you hear the narrator saying, "And the engines all agree that this was a very happy Thanksgiving." You're thinking, no, it's Christmas. There's a Christmas tree, there's lights, there's decorations all around, tinsel, presents. It's freaking Christmas. And if you think this can't get any weirder, oh boy, are you wrong. So, the Shining Time Station episode in question, Billy's Party, premiered in America on April 21st, 1993. Now keep in mind, for some of you who don't know, especially if you're outside of the US, Thanksgiving in America falls on the 4th Thursday of November. The episode aired in April. Thanksgiving is normally in November. What? I mean, what the heck? This is stupid. That's like releasing a Christmas episode of Thomas and Friends in July. Wait. Oh, that's right. I forgot to mention. Now, I haven't talked about anything negative about the UK version of the episode, which is pretty good still, but even that's not safe from any weird effects. Or weird aspects, whatever you want to call it. The premiere date of the UK dub of the episode was July 14th, 1992. Now, Christmas normally is on December 25th. July versus December. Maybe they're doing this because of Christmas in July, because that's a running thing between certain people, but what? This is... Oh my gosh, this episode, mostly the American dub, but man, even the, oh my gosh, it's just weird all over. I'm sorry. But yeah, as I've already mentioned, the UK dub is very good, and the American dub is just Why? Why couldn't they just, like, chose a different episode for Billy's party? They could have, like, I don't know, re-aired Edward Trevor and the Really Useful Party. That would have been a perfect episode for it. They could have just saved, like, I don't know, Thomas and Percy's Christmas Adventure for, I don't know, another Christmas special of Shiny Type Station. Or even a VHS or DVD of Thomas and Friends with Christmas episodes in it. They could have... Oh my gosh, this could have been avoided if they would have done that, but unfortunately we gotta deal with it, and yeah. Now normally I would, when it comes to watching Thomas episodes and the English dubs, British versus American, I say take your pick. Like, if you prefer one over the other, that's fine, whatever. But when it comes to this episode, UK version all the way. It's Christmas themed, and it shows that it's Christmas themed, and it's just way better. I don't need anything else to say about it. I already mentioned what I think about it. Just watch that version, not the American version. Now I just want to know what Britt Alcroft thinks of this nowadays, because keep in mind, Britt Alcroft was involved in Shiny Time Station, so she was involved in both Thomas and Shiny Time, so I'm wondering how she felt about it. I'm surprised she didn't, like, say, you know what, this actually isn't a very good idea, let's not do this, but they went with it anyway. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all I gotta say about this Thomas episode. Let me know if you want to see me cover any more, like, Thomas episodes in the future for this show. I definitely wouldn't mind doing so. But yeah, that is going to be about it for this episode of It Came From England, this first Christmas episode of It Came From England. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you liked this episode, feel free to give it a like. Hit subscribe if you want to see more episodes of It Came From England, and just mediocre plush content in general. Leave a comment down below letting me know what you think. That is about it. This is Tyler from the Character Workshop saying to all of you, Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays. And next episode is also going to be Christmas themed, but instead of talking about blue trains, I am talking about anthropomorphic shapes under the names the Mr. Men and the Little Misses. Having to be the first topic of It Came From England because that show holds a special place in my heart. So I feel like it would be shit.